By the end of this video, what you're going to learn how to do is how to stop your son or daughter from overthinking in games. This is a concept that we have within our community called the A-B decision matrix, and I'm going to go over the quick teaching today. For those of you who don't know, my name is Trey Mourning. I'm a former professional basketball player, both here in the States and overseas. In my most recent season playing professionally, I went from averaging about 5 points and 4 rebounds to 20 points and 9 rebounds. That change took about 30 days to make. And it was really a result of figuring something out mentally and changing some things that I didn't know I needed to change. It took me a while to make that change, but once I did, the results were really quick. And more importantly, I've helped over 100 parents and players in the past year alone change their lives on and off the court through the varsity performance system, which I will mention in just a bit. But without further ado, I'm going to get into the teaching, how to stop your son or daughter from overthinking in games. I'm going to do some drawing on this board right here, this Miro board. These are some drawings that I had within my community and the work that I do with players in the program. But let's go ahead and get started. So the A-B decision matrix. Today, I want to teach you a concept that I use with the players in our program called the A-B decision matrix. And this is one of the simplest ways to help players stop overthinking during the games. And I'm going to be reading from this document, but I'm going to be throwing in some anecdotes and stories and going off on tangents and things like that as I find it necessary to be able to get this point across to you all. As I was mentioning, this is one of the simplest ways to help players stop overthinking during games. And this is because most players I work with don't struggle with skill. And I want to make it very clear. I don't work with players who have a skill issue. I work with players who have a mindset issue. They have the skills, they have the tools, they have the resources, and they're just struggling to put the pieces together. And you all as parents don't know why, the trainers don't know why. And that's why we're here today, to close that gap and make things work, right? So these players, they struggle with decision paralysis. They hesitate, they overthink, they second guess themselves. And when that happens, the game starts moving faster than they do. And they're just discombobulated. They catch the ball and they don't know necessarily what to do with it, right? So I think that's a really important point right there. The goal of the A-B decision matrix is to simplify the game into 2 outcomes only. Now we can expand this past A-B to ABC and maybe some other letters, but I don't want to get too crazy. I want to keep this pretty simple at A-B today for you all. Maybe expanding. We may expand a little bit at the end, but that's it for now. So not 10 outcomes, not 20 possibilities, just 2. And there's really only a handful of outcomes that can happen at any given point during the game, right? So let's focus on A-B. And when a player learns to think this way, they start playing faster, freer, and more confidently out there on the court. More importantly, their mind starts to speed up, and that's a good thing. I'm not saying it speeds up in a way, it's like a computer. When our minds start to speed up on the court, we're able to see the head, see the play that is coming up. You look at a guy like LeBron, he's able to read some things that are happening in the game because his basketball IQ is so high. In this program, we really help players maximize their basketball IQ in a very short amount of time. And once that clicks, players who have the skills just go out there and start hooping. And they're like, oh, shoot, I could have done this the whole entire time. I just didn't know how. So the A-B decision matrix. When your son or daughter is on the court, every action has, let's say, 2 possible outcomes. It either works or it doesn't work. We'll look at shooting, for example, later on. But you shoot the ball, either goes in or it doesn't go in. I know it sounds super simple. Yes, it's very simple. The goal is for it to be simple. At the same time, I know this is not easy to do. This is why players need help. This is why my job exists, and I built this business out to be able to handle these issues for players, is because players need help bridging the gap. And truth be told, if you could have solved this on your own, you would have solved it already. And you've invested probably, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands at this point on camps, trainers over the history of your son or daughter playing basketball. And you want them to play at the next level. You want them to play in college. You want them to play in professionally in the NBA, maybe. I had the privilege of being in training camp with the Houston Rockets, and my father played 16 years in the NBA. So I've been around the NBA my whole entire life. And it's a different level of basketball. And one thing I hear every single time basketball jumps up a level, and I've been fortunate enough to play at all 3 levels, although I didn't get playing time in a game at the NBA. The thinking, I've played with NBA players my whole entire life. So the thinking always gets faster. The game speed, it gets faster and faster. And yes, the players become more athletic, but it's less about the athleticism piece. It's more about the reads and the things that are happening so quickly. So when you speed up your mind and you let your body catch up, and this is why it's so important to get a player at this stage right now, because their body is naturally going to catch up to their mind. And in a lot of locker rooms, I was actually talking to a mom today in our program. She texted me and she said, "Hey, Malik is her son's name. Malik is not having these conversations around his teammates and his coaches because his coaches are not teaching at that level. Sometimes coaches don't even know how to, most coaches, to be honest with you, they don't know how to teach at that level. I have yet to see anybody do what it is that we do, whether it be an NCSA, whether it be another program that is helping players, I guess, with their mindset in some way, a sports psychologist for that matter. They're not breaking down the X's and O's and helping players understand basketball at a fundamental level. And this is what sets us apart and what we do apart from other people. So I like to think we don't have any competition out there in the world, which is a good thing. So I truly believe that. And let's get back to this. So the AB decision matrix, when your son or daughter is on the court, every action has two possible outcomes. It works or it doesn't work. Okay. That's really it. And most players think something is different. And I like to think about it this way. When players are confused or a whole lot is going on, it's because they haven't really gotten specific on what it is that they have going on. It's like if you go to the doctor, right? If you go to the doctor and you tell the doctor, "Hey, doc, I just don't feel well." He's like, "Okay, where don't you feel well?" It's like, "My lower body." He's going to be like, "Okay, where in your lower body?" "My right leg." "Where in your right leg?" And it's going to keep going again and again and again and again until you pinpoint specifically the third metatarsal on your right foot. So you get that granular and that specific. So you get that specific with questions. And a lot of people have questions sometimes in terms of how do you do this program online and how does it work online? Well, we can ask questions online. We can review film online. And I'm going to go over specifically our film channel in the community in just a bit, just talking about all the different film that players send. And it could be, I sent this, but this is things that I want the players to watch. These are different clips of film that parents are sending in or players are sending in, and I'm posting things to review as well. So I'll send you a really detailed Loom video going over, which is 11 minutes long, but some are a bit longer, that I send back, probably like 20 minutes, just going over the film and helping you understand what needs to change and what needs to shift, because that's extremely important, right? So as I was mentioning, it either works or it doesn't work, and that's pretty much it. And now most players think there is something different and they want to get vague. It's like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on." No. What if I miss? And what if the coach gets mad? You're thinking about different outcomes. I have a coach who tells me it this way. When I've asked him questions and I thought about, hey, like in 5 years down the line, when I'm in this situation and I'm having this happen and this happen, how do I shift and pivot to do all these other things? He's like, "That's a future Trey problem, right? I'm not going to address a future trade problem now. I could start thinking about it and prepare and plan for the future. I'm not opposed to planning for the future, but I do know that I have no business making up scenarios in my head that have not happened in order to give myself peace and some sort of control." So your player wants control at the end of the day. And that's why they come up with all these different scenarios. What if I miss? What if a coach gets mad? What if my teammate says something? What if I mess up? What if my parents feel like they're let down? And I want to submit this to you. This is some food for thought. They didn't learn this from nowhere, right? They learned this from somebody, and they learned this more than likely at home. This is why within our program, we work with the parents as well. This isn't just the players sign up and get the help. No, you as a parent need to be an active participant in this, because without you being an active participant in this, the cycle is just going to continue and continue and continue. I can work with your player, but when I work with your player, they're going to go back home. We turn off the cameras, we go home, I shut my computer, they shut theirs, and they go about their day. They're with you the rest of the time. If you don't take initiative and work on yourself and improve yourself, you're going to be setting your child up for failure, and you're going to be setting yourself up for failure over the long term. Because how can you ask your player to do something uncomfortable if you're willing to do something uncomfortable? This change, this is why the investment is what it is. I'm not going to go into the investment right now because it's really a customized approach for each family. But that's the reason why you hear parents say in testimonials and videos that I've done that, hey, when I saw the price, it was like, whoa. But once we did it and we went through it, it was worth every single penny. It's because this is an investment for your family. This isn't just about basketball and fixing this problem. This is about a whole family dynamic and improving things in a deeper way. Okay. And fortunately enough, I've been around basketball families my whole life. I grew up in one at the highest level. My dad was great at what he did. And all of that thinking really slows them down. And instead, what we do is we teach players to, and by we, I mean myself and my team, what we do is we teach players to make two decisions, A, B decisions, okay? And example one, I talked about this earlier, but let's say shooting the basketball. So let's say a player takes a shot. Outcome A is they make the shot. Outcome B is, well, they miss the shot. And now here's the key lesson. Please hold on to this. Both outcomes are information. We need information. Both outcomes are information. Okay. What I mean by that is if they make the shot, we learn something. We learn what works, right? We feel better. The score goes up. Our stats improve. The players' stats improve. They feel more confident, all these other things. If they miss the shot, we also learn something. That's why film study is super important. I have players missing shots in film all the time. I won't show which player this is, but let's say there's a player who makes a shot. Let's see. Malachi was killing this game. But let's say there's a shot that he misses. I think this play right here, for example, he's driving down the court. Walk up, he knocks that one down. He's extremely confident. Kid's bold. I think he had 23 this game, and the other team had 23. He was out there killing. But anyways, he's able to take that shot confidently, and I think he goes down the next play and misses the last three. And I gave him feedback on why he missed that last three this is the shot where he missed at the end of the quarter. So I'm able to give him feedback and help him understand, okay, dude, you missed this shot because X reason. I think he rushed that. For me, it's not even a rushing thing. He didn't know what he wanted to do before the play. And this is why, yes, reads are important. And I talked about reads before. That's very important. But you have to have a go-to shot. You have to understand what it is you're trying to get to on the court. Because once you understand what you're trying to get to on the court, you just get to your spot. That's why you hear pros talk about all the time, oh, they got to their spot. He's really good at getting to a spot. I'm like, okay, Malachi, what is your spot? What are you trying to do before the play even develops? You should know what shot you're actually trying to get. And that's how you simplify things even more. So that was just an example. So with shooting a ball, I gave that example, and I'll actually draw something up in just a bit right after I do this teaching. But I do want to continue I feel like we're on a good pace here. So action creates information. And one thing I tell players all the time is without action, we cannot get better, right? Inaction is a form of action, believe it or not. We're always taking action. So we just got to choose the action that's going to lead us to where it is that we want to go. We got to get specific on our goals, specific on our trajectory and where we want to go. And then from there, we can take the appropriate action. With feedback, with coaching, we can help players understand, okay, take a step this way, take a step this way, and I'll take a step back. And then we'll adjust and shift, and we'll move the right way. We'll move the smart way instead of saying, okay, I want to go this way. I want to achieve all these goals. Let me run to get there. And that's why more reps are not working. That's why you're in this situation and you're watching this video, because the person on the other side of this camera, the parent and the family who is watching this video, more than likely you have done reps over reps over reps over reps, and you're doing more work. You see the destination, you see the goal. You want to get to the NBA. You want to go get that college scholarship, play D1 basketball, and you're just running in that direction. And more than likely you're tired because you're like, damn, I've just been running in the same direction again and again. I keep telling my son to do more reps, keep telling my daughter to do more reps, and keep putting in the work, honey. I've been told the same exact thing. That does not work if you're not headed down that direction in the right way. We got to make sure, think about it this way. If you're headed to a destination, you have to check the vehicle that you're driving in order to get there, to give yourself more confidence about where you're going and how you're going to get there at the speed you're going to get there. Because if we're just driving a car and it's a hoopty, it's broken down, and we don't realize that the engine's about to explode or the tires are flat or some of these other things, there's a leak, and we just say, I'm going to get to the destination regardless of what's happened. I don't want to get to the destination and then get there and boom, the car is broken down, because there's always something that happens after that. There's always a life after basketball. There's always more and more and more and more. And I've seen it, unfortunately, so many times with athletes that they'll put everything into the sport and the sport won't give them anything back because the sport doesn't owe them anything, right? Anyways, action creates information. One thing, as I mentioned before, I tell players all the time, without action, we cannot get better. We need reps, we need attempts, we need opportunities, because those attempts show us where we currently stand. Now they need to be good reps, but at the same time, there is a period where we just need to get reps in, which I do believe that as well. Now, you do have to know which situation you're in, because a lot of times you're doing more reps. You parents know this. Doing more reps, and you're not getting to where you want to get to. okay, we got to shift and pivot and understand, okay, am I making the right reps? Because if Malachi, for example, is just shooting that shot again and again, he's like, Trey, I'm putting the shots up. I'm like, okay, let me see the film. Let me get context. Let me understand why you're shooting the shot that you're shooting. And I think his dad shot this video. So you as parents can shoot these same videos at the games, send them to me, and then we'll have this conversation. And over a 6-month period of us working together, you're going to see some major changes. All right, so in terms of ball handling, this is a different example, but I think it's still a good example. We can tweak it a little bit, and I'll make it make sense more within this Miro document here. Miro is this software. This is the same thing I teach when ball handling. So a lot of players will try to dribble perfectly. I'll give them a drill, and we have a series of workouts within the community as well that I give a lot of players. Malachi's really benefited from a lot of those. I just keep harping on Malachi because we just work with him, or we just saw his film, but I'll give a player, there was a player named Isaac the other day, and he sent me film with him working out and doing ball handling drills. And the feedback I gave him is, dude, I want to see you mess up. Okay. And what I mean by that is this. That's actually the wrong way to train in terms of trying to dribble perfectly. When you're practicing ball handling, you should dribble to make a mistake. You should dribble to make a mistake. Okay. So the reason we're doing this is because mistakes show us where our current ceiling is. And if you never lose the ball, you're probably not challenging yourself enough. Mistakes are not failures, and mistakes are feedback, right? I used to dribble basketballs by a pool, and I used to dribble as hard as I could. And when I would mess up, the ball would go in the pool, and I'd get pissed. And then I'd also work in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need to get to my ceiling and get to the point where I need to get to the point where I'm dribbling to mess up. But at the same time, if the ball goes in the pool, I'm going to be pissed. So I'm working both sides of, okay, I'm dribbling to my ceiling. Then also, I don't want this outcome to happen because dribbling with a wet basketball absolutely sucks. Okay. Mistakes are not failures. They're feedback at the end of the day. And imagine a game where your player is hammering. You're never going to have to pound the basketball super, super, super hard in a game. But if you're doing the right drills and dribbling to your ceiling, when you get in the game and somebody's reaching for it, you're going to have much more confidence to pull off a move in such a way that you never did before, and you can be like, oh shoot, this actually works. But because you pushed yourself to that ceiling. Jason Kidd is somebody who my dad played with, and I know Jay Kidd personally. He used to talk about practice being harder than games. He always wanted practice to be harder than games. Always wanted practice to be harder than games. So when you got to the games, you're killing, right? But the thing is, you can't necessarily always control how your practice environments are. What you can control is how you work out. Right? You can't control the practice plan and what the coach schedules and all this other stuff, but you can control how you work out. Okay. That's why this is so important. And now, decision-making in games, and this is the example that I'm going to draw up in Miro. Let's say a player is driving to the basket, right? And they have an outcome, right? They have a situation here. I'll expand it more when I draw, so I'll just read the document here. Outcome A is they score. Outcome B is they get stopped, right? Both outcomes teach them something. Maybe the defender was too strong, which means that they can get in the gym more. Your player can get in the gym more and bulk up to be able to deliver the blows. And maybe it was an angles thing, right? Maybe it's not a strength thing. It's just an angles thing. They took the wrong angle. They didn't cut off the player in the way they needed to get cut off. That's why film study is so important. And then maybe the timing was off. Maybe they chose the wrong read at the wrong time because the guy in the corner did not go all the way through. If you know basketball, some of these things, but if the help guy in the corner did not fully clear out, and I just went on my move too early, I'm kind of screwing up, right? I remember somebody who's like a big bro in basketball in a lot of ways is Michael Beasley. And Mike was telling me one time, I think I just graduated college. I just started playing professionally, or I was in college still. And playing pickup here in Miami. And then I catch the ball in the post, and I'm a very gifted scorer. I was I think I averaged like 30 in my senior year in high school. It was like 30, 12, and 8 or something like that. Something crazy. I almost averaged a triple-double. But anyways, when I was back in Miami training, I caught the ball in the post and I went to my move right away. And I'd heard all the time, oh, make a quick move, make a quick move. No, you're not meant to make a quick move if it's not the right time to make that move. And Bees pulled me to the side. He's like, yo, wait for me to clear out. I think he was the person who threw me the ball. Throws me the ball down in the post. He's like, yo, wait for me to clear out. Once I clear out, then you go into your move. And I thought about it and I watched film now and I'm like, hey, that player went too early because they didn't wait for the guy or the girl to clear out to the opposite corner so that they can have more space to be able to make the move. And these are things that professionals think about that your player at this stage in their life, they're not thinking about. But once they start thinking about these things now, I kid you not, they're going to make some exponential changes a lot faster than anybody else they're playing with or against because they're not thinking the same exact way. Super, super important to get across here. Okay. And then, yeah, maybe the timing was off, as I mentioned. But again, if they never attack, we never learn, right? We need reps. We also need the right reps. Okay. Now, a lesson for business, and I'll just tie this home for you all as parents so this makes sense. This is something that I've been taught as an entrepreneur. I'll give you a quick example outside of basketball. So in business and in sales in particular, one of the things that I've learned from coaching and the coaches that I've had have been great over my business career and over my basketball career. I've had some good ones and some bad ones, but overall, I've learned a whole lot. But this is specifically business coaching. I've learned the idea of going for no, right? The goal of getting to a no. And what this means is that instead of avoiding rejection, you should want to seek rejection, right? Because when you start hearing enough no's, a pattern is going to develop. Because what's eventually going to happen is, one, you're not going to care when you hear a no. You're not going to care when you miss a shot, let's say. You're not going to care when you hear a no. And then eventually, you're not going to hear no all the time. Somebody's eventually going to say yes. You're going to be like, oh, shoot, I got a yes. And that's actually what you want at the end of the day, to close a deal, to get a client, to get a customer, whatever it is. But because when you start hearing those, I was mentioning a pattern develops, I just kind of lost my place there. You understand that there is a process and you know how many conversations it's going to take to get a yes. So for instance, I obviously won't show you my business metrics, but we've been active as a business for about 16, 17 months. I know how much all of our no's cost, essentially, right? I know how many no's it's actually going to take in order to get a yes. I know how much money needs to be spent on ads in order to bring in the right client that we're looking for. I know how many videos potentially that I'm going to have to post to really get somebody's attention and find the right people. And yes, quality is extremely important within that, but it's really a numbers game. And within the basketball example, right, switching it over to basketball works the same way. A player should understand, how many shots do I typically need to miss in order to get into a rhythm? What are my percentages, right? If you know that you're shooting 45% from the field, or for sake of ease, let's say 50% from the field, and in the first half you go 2 for 10 in the first half and you shoot 20%, you should know that in the second half, you're going to shoot a lot better. You shouldn't be discouraged by missing 8 shots in the first half. You should be like, okay, I'm going to go into the second half. And I know based off of percentages, my percentages are going to even out and I'm going to do a whole lot better and feel a whole lot better about all this. So that's my take there. And it is a numbers game. It's statistics, it's film, it's breaking these things down. These are a lot of things and a lot of resources that a young player doesn't have. And this is why this community exists, right? This is why the varsity performance system is what it is. This is why we've seen over 100 players and parents within the past year alone. And we've changed so many lives across the board. We got testimonials all over YouTube that I'm posting more and more of, and then on Instagram as well. Again, how many reps is another one. How many reps does it take before I improve? Start tracking these things. Start tracking your data, workouts, metrics, nutrition. This is something that we talk about in the program, and I'll talk about in another video, I'm sure. But these are things that really, really make a big difference and hit things home, right? The real goal isn't perfection. The real goal is clarity through action. And every attempt gives us feedback. Every rep builds awareness. And when players stop fearing outcomes, specifically when players stop fearing outcome B, they start playing with confidence. Okay. And because the reason being is because they start to understand that outcome A helps them and outcome B teaches them. And both outcomes help them move forward, right? So both outcomes actually help them. And in closing, this is something, as I was mentioning before, that I teach players inside the varsity performance system all the time. And when players stop trying to control every outcome and start focusing on taking the right action, their confidence changes dramatically and they stop overthinking, they start responding. And that's when basketball becomes simple again. And I know that's what you want as a parent, and that's what your player wants as well. Just take action A or B, and take action, most importantly. Learn from the result, and this is why you need help learning from this result. So you're not just shooting in the dark and saying, oh, I got reps up, and you keep moving forward. So let me draw up this quick example. I was actually doing an A-B decision matrix for one of our players who is in states right here. But let's go and draw up another one here. So we'll say, for the example of driving to the basket, right? There's a bunch of different examples that we have here, but driving to the basket, I'll actually make this black instead of green. A, B, right? They drive to the basket, and let's say what happens, there's a couple things that could happen. I'll even make this, let's make it shooting, right? I think shooting would be a lot more simple. Made shot, missed shot. Duplicate, missed shot. I'll actually make this bigger too. Missed shot, okay? And I'll make these guys probably like 400. Yeah, made shot. Oop. All right, sweet. Even before that, and this is what comes to mind here, even before that, what I would do is shoot or pass, okay? This is probably a situation that you find yourself in, your player finds themselves in often. Should I shoot the ball or should I pass? Okay, let's say you choose to shoot, right? This is very important within the A/B decision matrix. Once we make a decision, the other one dies, all right? The other one dies. So we shoot, now we're not going back, right? We burn the boats. I'm a big believer that if you want to make a decision in life and you want to go forward with something, obviously don't be foolish. There's a difference. Take this with a grain of salt. But you got to burn boats, right? If you're all the way in, if you really want to play professional basketball, if you really want to make it to the next level, there's no really backup plan, right? Yes, you can get your degree. Yes, you can get your education. Yes, you could. I have my own thoughts on that. I'll probably make a video later on, but I have 2 degrees from Georgetown University. Got a master's degree from there as well. I speak more than 4 languages, probably like 5 now. And no more, probably like 7-ish on and off. And some other skills as well. Studied music in school, all these things. So I believe in education. I believe in a more specific education and having correct coaching from the right people in order to get you to where you want to get to. Because the real life is a lot harder than school, and there's a lot life can teach you that school can't. So you might as well just go to people who have the answers in order to get your answers, and it's a lot quicker than going to school. So once we make a decision, that decision dies, right? So once we shoot, there are literally only 2 options of what happens. Only 2 options, right? The shot goes in or it's missed. Now you could say, oh, what if the ref calls a foul? What if this and this? Still, we're solving for this specifically. We either make the shot or we miss the shot. Now, what do you want to pick? I'll pick for you. Let's say you miss the shot, right? It happens. You miss the shot, okay? Now, after we miss a shot, there are still only 2 things that can happen, right? And this is to make basketball super, super simple for you all. Complete the circle. We either get back on defense or we press. That's it, right? Then from there, okay, let's press. Boom. And then from there, as you can see, it just continues and continues. We made the shot, so we're going there. Now we have 3 different decisions, right? Instead of 6, and then you can expand this even more. I know your mind can think about all this. I'm not going to write over this whole entire document, but there's a bunch of other things that could happen after this, right? You press and you're guarding your person. And let's say a ball screen happens and you either, this is a lot deeper than that. So I just want to focus on this point right here in terms of the A/B decision matrix. But I hope this teaching was helpful. I hope this lesson was helpful. I'm sure there was a lot of good nuggets to take away from this. Parents, watch the next video. There are more breakdowns that I'm doing on this channel, and then also testimonials from clients who have been successful within this program. All of our clients have been successful in some way, shape, or form. Some are just better at talking on camera than others. So we've done testimonials there, and I'm sharing more and more as time goes on. So subscribe and stick around for more. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.